Who would have ever thought that buying and selling groceries could have ultimately turned into one, a $2 billion a year business, or two, turn into a real estate empire? I mean, I would have never guessed that. And so I started in the grocery industry when I was 17 years old, but not in the traditional sense. In fact, my father and I started a business where we were buying and selling truckloads of groceries, basically wholesaling groceries. I had no idea that that would be the precursor to what my life would be like, for the next 25 years, but indeed it ended up being that way. I was taught how to go and find a truckload, an item, Folgers coffee, for instance, in one market at a deeply discounted price, buy that truckload from, a Winn-Dixie or Safeway or Albertsons or, any national company that we've all heard of. And I would turn around and we'd buy that truck and then turn around and go sell it into another market where it wasn't being sold by the manufacturer at a discount. We'd make that money on the spread. It was only when I was so young, naive, and quite frankly stupid, that I said, well, why don't we do it the other way? Why don't we go and just ask all of our customers what they want to buy? They've got all the money, they've got the warehouses, they've got all the needs. Why don't we just ask them, hey, if I could sell you anything at any price, delivered on any day and in any quantity, what do you want? And it's in that question, that epiphany, if you will, that my life changed. Because when we did that in the grocery business, suddenly we were playing a completely different game. We were out shopping versus selling, right? We had customers' orders at this point. We had thousands of orders. People saying, hey, I want Heinz ketchup, Kraft mac and cheese, Coca-Cola, Kraft mayonnaise, whatever. We had it all, Campbell's soup. And then we just went around to all of our sources and said, hey, go buy this, go buy this, go buy this. So while all of our competitors were playing the normal game, what do you have? Let me go sell it. We were playing the other game. This is what I need, go get it. By the time I'm 23 years old, I'm running a $50 million a year company. By the time I'm 27, the company's now been acquired by a company in Boca Raton, Florida, and suddenly I'm running an $800 million a year company. And by the time I'm 30, we're doing $1.8 billion a year. And ultimately, being so full of crap and so young, I just decided that it was time for me to walk out. And I quit in about a 30-minute spat and changed the course of my life forever. And proceeded over the course of the next 2 years to lose every single thing that I owned. Went through a horrible divorce, went through the most traumatic experience that's ever happened to me. Not only financially, but morally, was completely bankrupt in every sense of that word. I lost my entire life savings, almost $2 million. Went from having $2 million in a bank account to having $4,000 in a bank account in 22 months. I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be with your back up against the wall, to literally have nothing left, to be in an unbelievably desperate situation, to be having those suicidal thoughts, to be having those, very, very horrific place to be in your life. I know what that feels like. I have been there, having those anxiety attacks, having the sleepless nights and the gut-wrenching experience. I've been through all of it. And so suddenly I was now faced, humiliated, burned every bridge on the way down, right? I had nowhere to turn. And I saw one of those late night infomercials that we've all seen. 2 o'clock in the morning, some carnival barker out there talking about how real estate could change his life and it could change my life too. And I was just desperate enough and just, in a place where I said, okay, I'll go. And I went and checked it out. And I was quickly connecting the dots saying, wait a minute, what he's talking about doing in real estate, I never knew I could do. And he's talking about what I just did in groceries. I know how to do this in groceries. All the same rules apply in real estate. And I've quickly made some connections, in my mind and made some decisions that I needed to get involved and spent $1,000 to get involved. When I had to go pay $1,000 for a wholesaling course, a real estate training course, and I only had $4,000 in the bank, any way you cut that, it was 25% of my net worth. And that was really, really scary stuff. But I was just desperate enough to make it work. So that's what I did. I used it and went off, and within a matter of 21 days, cashed my first check for $8,200, and I will never forget what that felt like. I've literally made millions and millions of dollars over the course of the last 10, 12, years in real estate since then, but in that moment, I will never forget exactly what that felt like, to have that $8,200 check in my hand and be driving from the title company, and what that represented to me. That $8,200 was everything to me. The previous, 2 years before that, when I was in the grocery business, I was W-2ing over $1 million a year. And here I am crying over $8,200 because suddenly I had done it all on my own. And it was a completely different industry. I had no relationships. I didn't know anybody, but I had done this. And how ironic that I go into the real estate industry, and what we're now known for, and what now has helped our students become wildly successful, is doing the exact same thing. Just going off. Everybody in the industry teaches you how to go get it under contract and then go flip it. And we teach you how to do it exactly the opposite. Go talk to all the buyers that have all the money, and they have all this pent up demand. They want you to go get it, and then just go market and get those deals. Why don't you just go save a bunch of time, effort, and energy and just get what you know your buyers really want to buy. Reverse wholesaling. If you're struggling to get your first deal going, you're just trying to get through all of the noise. There's just so much nonsense, so many carnival barkers out there. It's just trying to figure out who's real and who's not. That in and of itself is a full-time job. And you've got this shiny object syndrome where from one week to the next, you've got somebody else yelling at you, hey, look over here. Well, let's look at short sales. Let's look at REOs. Let's look at wholesaling. Let's look at lease options. What about rehabs? What about it's just insane. So I understand. I know how confusing that can be. And I want you to know that it doesn't have to be confusing. The reason we're here is to take away all of that confusion and create ultimate clarity. The same thing is if you've out there and it's really a hobby for you. It's not a business. You may have actually done a deal. Hell, you may actually have done 2 or 3 deals. You may be doing a couple deals a year. Let me ask you something. You're still struggling with that big question of, what if I lost my job right now and I had to survive off of this? Could I do it? In my first 18 months, I did 91 wholesale deals and made over $1 million. And the rest, as they say, is history. We went crazy. We just got going as fast as we possibly could. And old habits kind of die hard. There was a part of me that kind of started gravitating into kind of believing some of my own BS again. Hey man, I'm really good at this. But I was, on an airplane in May of 2012, traveling back from Memphis, Tennessee to my home at the time down in West Palm Beach, Florida. And my wife and my young daughter happened to be on the plane at the time. And I look up and suddenly I see white smoke billowing. And I'm not talking just a little bit of smoke, billowing down the aisle. And I remember that like it was yesterday, because it's in that exact moment, right, that I turn around and I can see my wife 6 rows behind me with my young daughter, and I can see the panic on her face. We both realize in that instant, our eyes connecting across this, 25 feet here, that we're gonna die. And I can see it in her face, she can see it in mine. I can't do anything to comfort her. I can hear my daughter crying, Daddy. There's nothing I can do for that. The whole plane at this point realizes we're on fire. The stewardesses are coming on and they're in a complete panic. They're getting on and they're petrified. They're scared to death. They're coming across the loudspeaker, basically telling us, everybody return to their seats, crew return to their seats. They ultimately tell us 3 words you never want to hear when you're on an airplane. Tell us to brace for impact. We go into a complete nosedive to try to put the fire out. This is your worst nightmare suddenly realized in an instant. And something you have zero control over. You can't do anything about it. And the only thing I can think of is that if I'm gonna die, I want my son to have something that I want him to know that I love him. And I'm just hoping they find my phone. So I start filming a video to myself, and all of this just created an enormous amount of clarity in a moment, right? In a moment like that, you quickly realize just how much crap we hold on to that just doesn't matter. And it's basically the majority of it, right? There are a few things in life that truly, truly matter, and the rest of it is just this self-imposed crap. And so I can only hope that each and every person that's ever sees this video would have a moment of clarity like that. Not necessarily without having to go through all the panic and the brush with death, if you will, but certainly be able to experience the ultimate, most liberating feeling in the world when you just suddenly realize that this is what matters and this is what doesn't matter, because it will change you forever, just like it did me. It put me on a completely different path and became the vision of not only my company, our company, but our entire organization and what we bring to the table, right? We help people to find that clarity. We help people to find their why. We help people to create their vision, because quite frankly, one thing I know to be true is that there's a lot of noise and confusion out there. There's a lot of people that can teach you how to flip a house. There's a lot of people that can teach you a number of different things to do in real estate investing. But none of that matters, and you will never take the actions, and you will never experience the success you're looking for until you understand your why. And it helped create that clarity for me. It helped create that, that moment when suddenly, like I said, I realized what mattered and what didn't matter. And from my perspective, I began to realize that family and creating a difference in my kids' lives, quite frankly, is the only thing that matters for me. It is my why. It is the one thing I live for every single day, to make a difference in their lives. And that difference to me is basically showing them that they can have anything that they want out of their life, but not just telling them that. We all get caught in that. Telling, demonstrating every single day that you can create whatever you want. And I want you to see Dad doing that with other people all over the world. I want you to see him helping other people to realize that same thing. So I quickly understood right at that moment that this is what I believe in, this is what I stand for, and now this is what I stand against. I stand for time, making the most out of every moment. I stand for creating value. I stand for creating impact. I stand for basically having the ultimate life. And once I understood, once I put my flag in the ground, and once you put your flag in the ground, I started working backwards from there. What are the things I have to strip away? What's all the things that are just confusing, and the noise and the things that are not even necessary? Get rid of all. What are the things that are going to lead me to my vision? What are the things that are going to give me the ultimate, my ultimate perfect day, my ultimate scenario, the one thing that matters the most, creating this very fulfilling life? What are those things? Because that's what I'm going to focus on. And so, as that relates to your real estate business, think about it like this. You clearly understand what your why is. You get laser focused on what you really want out of your business, and I guarantee you it's not money. And then, you start drilling into what are the quickest and fastest ways to get there. It's that simple, because it's all about time. What's the fastest way to get motivated sellers? To pick up the phone, to call you, to put a deal together, to make money, to do it again, to automate that process. What's the fastest way to get buyers? What's the fastest way to get private money raised? What's the fastest way to just kind of cut to the head of the line and get the business going? I can't tell you how many people I run into that believe they have time on their hands. And so what they ultimately end up doing is they put off, working with a mentor, working with anybody to help them, to let somebody clear the path for them. Instead, they just say, you know what, I'll spend the next 5 or 10 years figuring it out on my own. 5 or 10 years that you don't have. How about you just figure it out in the next 6 months and just get on with it, and then go spend the next 9.5 years enjoying life? That's what it's about. That's what clarity does for you. It speeds up the process where you quickly don't take anything for granted, and you're in a hurry to get to your ultimate life. That is why I think, we're a really good fit for people, because that's exactly what it was about for me. Was my mission, was to create freedom. And so I set out putting the systems in place to automate every single part of my business and replace myself as often as I can. It was one of the greatest things a mentor told me a long time ago, that your number one job, if you want a business, is to fire yourself as often as you possibly can. And so that became almost a game for me, is how can I create a process, a system to get out of this particular job? That way I only want to focus on the stuff I want to focus on, the stuff that I really enjoy, that I'm passionate about, and let all the other things be done by other people. And so through that, we developed some of the best systems arguably that are out there, systems that now allow our organization and our company to flip 500 and 600 houses a year with literally no involvement with me whatsoever when it comes to the actual transaction. I mean, there's 500 or 600 deals that happen every single year in our organization. I make money on every one of them, but I don't actually handle any of them. That's a business, right? We now have over 22,000 students around the country that follow these exact same processes and these exact same systems, because they see that these things can work in their life as well, right? So these are all a product of our own experience in trying to create this with us. Now, along that, I can tell you that the single biggest driving force in our company, in our organization, and in me, quite frankly, is this time freedom, this element of time. Everything about us, down to the wristband I wear that says the time is now, is all about time. We want to create things that typically would take somebody hours or weeks or months to do, and can press it down into a matter of seconds and eliminate those mundane tasks. We've done that throughout the organization. One of the cool benefits of doing what I do is that, or what we do, I should say, is that we get to experience this firsthand now with our students, right? So it's no longer just about what we do. It's now that our students around the country experience the exact same thing. And so we've got, you've got Wade and Emmy in Amarillo, you've got Chantel up in Sacramento, you've got Brian Powers in St. Louis. And literally thousands of others, but people that I can just, right off the top of my head, I can tell you that they have gone in and spent some time with us. And I was just thinking about Scott Dilly as well, people that have spent some time with us and come in with one kind of notion on how to do deals and how to run their business. And after spending time with us and understanding our philosophies and understanding our systems and automation and tools, it's made their entire business pivot. And they, along with thousands of other people, would tell you that their successes are very, very real, and their businesses and their lives have changed forever because of that. So with that being said, I invite you to learn more about not only myself, but our organization and all the services that we offer real estate investors and entrepreneurs. Just learn more right here on this page. Check it out, click around. There's plenty of stuff here for you. Take care.